That was me a year ago, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, that was your boy Stephen A. I can't even tell you how bad I was. I was 208 pounds. I was always skinny. I was skin and bones with a pot belly, 208 pounds, nearly 30% body fat, a cholesterol level over 300, and 0.1 point away from being a full-blown diabetic. And that was after I had COVID, which damn near killed me. This is a year later. As you can see, times have changed. I feel lovely. I think I look lovely. And guess what I'm on a mission to do? Make sure I can do exactly that for you too. Stephen A. Smith Show ain't just about sports. It ain't just about pop culture and entertainment. It ain't just about politics. It's about helping everybody make their life better. Whatever way we can pull that off. The number one mission is health. There is no wealth in any category without good health. We're going to start today doing everything we can to make sure we address that issue. You want to get healthy? You want to be better? You want to do what you can to move your life in a forward, more positive direction? Listen to this special edition of the Stephen A. Smith Show. Yours truly with the one and only Gary Brecker for 10X Health. Wait till you hear this brother drop his knowledge. Let's go, y'all.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the special edition of the Stephen A. Smith Show. I've been looking forward to talking to you guys and ladies for a very, very long time. Obviously, over the last year or so, you've heard me do something that I have never done, and that is mention my health in a positive way. It was so bad for me, as I pointed out in the cold open, I had no reason to look in the mirror other than for brushing my teeth and washing my face. I didn't want to look in the mirror because life was that bad. Needless to say, things have changed, and I have a couple of people to thank for it, but none more so than the individual that I'm about to introduce you all now to as well. First of all, he's got his own Instagram account, his own TikTok account. He's got a couple of millions of followers. He's the co-founder of 10X Health System. Obviously, he's got a podcast, a big-time podcast, The Ultimate Human. He is the one and only Gary Brecker.
Wow.
He is sitting right next to me. What's up, big time?
What's
How are you,
up,
sir?
man?
How's everything going?
Good to see you, brother.
It's good to see you. How you doing?
I'm doing great, man.
I think it's appropriate to start off this conversation, really this interview, by giving you major props and thanks.
Thank you.
I appeared on your podcast a few months ago. I definitely saved this because I'm in pretty damn good shape right now.
You are.
I'm feeling good about myself, and you obviously have, you deserve a lot of credit. I can't thank you enough for the help that you have given me. When you first saw me, tell the audience, they saw a picture of me.
Yes.
But tell the audience what kind of condition I was in.
Well, you know, everybody sees what's going on the outside, right? So we were taking a look at what was going on the inside. We did a gene test. We did a blood test. And the blood revealed something called metabolic syndrome. And people might have heard of this and you don't really know what it is. If you know what it is, and then good for you, because it is the leading cause of cardiovascular disease. And what it is, it's any two of the following five: abdominal obesity, elevated blood sugar, elevated insulin, high triglycerides, blood fat, and high cholesterol. And you had all five of those, right? When you came to see me, the blood was sort of a disaster, right? And we talked about this, and we've been very upfront about this. And you know, this happens slowly over time. It's not like you wake up one day and you got abdominal obesity and you're insulin resistant and your triglycerides are high, which is a measure of blood fat, and your sugars are off the charts. It happens slowly over time. And there are people listening to this podcast right now that have 2 or 3 or 4 of the 5 signs of metabolic syndrome, and they do not know it. One of the first signs of cardiovascular disease is sudden death.
Sudden death. How's that a sign? You died. How's that a sign?
That's a symptom. That's one of the signs. So they say, what are one of the first signs of advanced cardiovascular disease? Sudden death. And so that's why they call it the sudden killer. The silent killer. They call the left anterior descending artery the widow maker. Because I don't want to make too heavy of your condition. But what I'm saying is there are so many people were in the place that you were in, and you were finally, I think, driven to me because of the consequences. You were saying you had brain fog and you were tired and you were having a hard time getting through the interviews on the air, and your joints were achy. You weren't sleeping well. You had a little bit of water retention. And this is all too common. It just happens so slowly. One day, like you said, you wake up and you look in the mirror and you're like, man, I do not like what's looking back at me.
Is it all too common with everybody, or do African Americans get affected by certain things differently than white Americans, differently than Latino Americans, anything like that?
Well, African Americans are more prone to a few things. They're more prone to type 2 diabetes. There's no question about that. They're more prone to vitamin D3 deficiency. Vitamin D3, if you were to say, what's the single most important nutrient in the human body, there's lots of them, but I would probably say it's vitamin D3, the sunshine vitamin. It's the only vitamin that human beings make on our own. Every single cell in the body has a receptor for this vitamin. The African-American population is 75% of that population is deficient in vitamin D3. 50% of the world's population is deficient in vitamin D3. In fact, it was the second leading cause of morbidity in COVID. Do you remember when COVID, when the pandemic was at its height, they said, well, the pandemic is disproportionately affecting minorities. This was very true. It had nothing to do with their minority status. It had to do with the pigment of their skin. Right. And the vitamin D3, the darker the pigment of your skin, the less your D3, the more compromised your immune system. So when you talk about, differences between races, that's one of them. Also the propensity for type 2 diabetes and insulin resistance is higher in the African American community. So these are just things that people should get data on. Most of us have so much data on our business. We have so much data on our kids, on our families. We keep sports stats, things like that. But we don't have any data on our temple. And, I do an interesting exercise sometimes when I speak in front of large audiences, young entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs. You asked them. I actually spoke at Damon John's event a few weeks ago and asked a room full of high-profile entrepreneurs. I said, how many of you really believe that your health is more important than your wealth? Every hand went up. How many of you believe that your health is more important than your business? Every hand goes up. And then when you bring a few people up onto the stage and you ask them a few questions about their business, how much did your business make last month? Okay, it made $668,000. How much did it net last month? $148,000. How many employees do you have? 72. What's your net revenue per month? $142,300. What's your hemoglobin A1C? Where are your testosterone levels? What's your D3 level? Blank. And I do that to rattle their cage a little bit to say, you need data. You got to get some data on your body.
But my question to you would be, when folks are lacking the data, usually you go to a doctor when you're not feeling well, or you go to a doctor for a particular checkup. They give you an exam, they analyze you, they dissect you, and they say, okay, this is what your situation is. They might show you some of that numbers. They may give you a copy of your records and what have you. But that's basically it. That's what you go by. So is it really about the patient and not really prioritizing getting their numbers? Or is it about the fact that we live in a culture where you go to the doctor and you just trust what the doctor is telling you and you go from there unless you're feeling too bad that you feel an urgency to try something different?
All right, this is going to get me in some trouble, and it's probably going to split your audience right in half. But the truth is that, we have a sick care system, and it is designed and it makes hundreds of billions of dollars a year to manage symptoms and manage disease. We are very good at symptom maintenance. We are very good at disease management. So when some traditional, not all, but when some traditional physicians will look at your medical record, they're looking to see if you have disease or pathology. They're going to say, Stephen, I'm looking at this. You're fine. You don't have diabetes. You don't have heart disease. You don't have any markers that you've had, any kind of active pathology in your body. Come see me next year. But then you go, well, I'm having a hard time like recalling names at cocktail parties, and I'm having a hard time, with words making it to the tip of my tongue and just not making it out. I'm having a difficult time remembering where my car keys and my wallet are, and I just don't feel good. I know that I don't have the same energy level, and I know that I don't have the impetus to work out. Libido has left the building. I don't feel aroused any longer. I've got no interest in in sex any longer. I'm not out of love with my spouse or not attracted to my spouse. I just don't have libido. And so they don't want to live like that. When you gave me one of the greatest quotes of all time, and you said there's a difference between being alive
And living.
And I love that quote, because most of the time we're going to go to our doctor to keep us alive. But if you really want to live, if you really want to thrive, you've got to put raw materials back into the human body. God meant for us to have it all. The libido of a tiger, the energy of 10 men, to sleep like a bear, to have clean, clear waking energy, to have that positive aggression towards working out, to feel aroused, to have the full range of emotions. And as we get older and these things creep up on us, we just sort of accept all of these things as a consequence of aging. Weight gain, water retention, brain fog, poor sleep, poor response to exercise. They are not a consequence of aging at all. They are a consequence of missing raw material in the human body. You know, I always tell the story about when I was in grad school and I had to take all these plant botany courses, which I hated. I was trying to get a second degree in human biology.
Right.
But if you have a leaf rotting in a palm tree and you call a true arborist, a true botanist out to your house, they'll look at that leaf and they will not touch the leaf. They will core test the soil. And they'll say, you know what, Stephen, there's no nitrogen in this soil. And they will add nitrogen to the soil and the leaf will heal. Human beings are no different. We just stopped thinking about it this way. We've lost all faith in humanity and mankind, the body's ability to heal itself, the power that this has over this. And when we get certain pieces of data, one of which, in my opinion, should be a genetic test. I think everybody on the planet should do one time in their life the same test you did, same test Dana White did. It's a genetic methylation test. It tells you what raw material, what vitamins, minerals, amino acids, nutrients can your body convert into the usable form, and what can it not. Once you have that piece of data, and you only do that test once in your life, you are now supplementing for deficiency and not the sake of supplementing. You want to go down a rabbit hole. You start getting on social media and you start getting on Facebook and the internet and you start talking to your friends about, well, what should I be taking? Why are you feeling so good? And it's NMN and nicotinamide riboside and ashwagandha and St. John's wort and CoQ10 and multivitamins. And the truth is, the biggest fallacy in all of modern medicine is that what goes into your body and goes into my body is treated the same way. We need to know what our body processes and what it doesn't. And when you find that out, it's like the missing nitrogen in the soil. Magic things happen.
And you're saying the genetic test can do that?
That genetic test did that, the one we did with you.
That's right.